All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming this afternoon. Today, we're going to learn a little bit more about the Faculty of Public Affairs. If you do have any questions at all for our speakers throughout this presentation, I'd love to encourage folks to please use the Q&A feature of AirMeet. We'll have a chat section, but we'll also have a Q&A area, and it's a little bit easier for us to answer your questions live and in real time using that Q&A feature of the platform. That's it for me. So I'll turn things over to our fantastic presenters and I'll let them take it away. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no pressure, Millie. Hi, everybody. Good morning and welcome, or I should say good afternoon and welcome. My name is Brenda O'Neill. I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Public Affairs, and I'm very, very pleased to see everybody here today. I think you're here because you're interested, obviously, in one of our degrees, whether it might be political science or economics or social work, journalism, communications. We have a ton, law and legal studies. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about what the Faculty of Public Affairs is, because I know that when you haven't attended a university, it's not always clear what a faculty is. And a faculty is just a collection of a particular set of departments or institutes and schools, and that's certainly what we have. We have about 12. And what is unique about this particular faculty at the university, or at Carleton University, is that our faculty is called the Faculty of Public Affairs, and it's the only one of its kind in the country. There are very few of them in the world, so it makes us a little bit unique. And that means that the departments that we have in our faculty and the institutes and schools are all about thinking about the civil society, thinking about how government works, thinking about the public sector. So there's a uniqueness to what it is that we do, and we think that makes us particularly strong. It also connects to our mission, and our mission is to build better societies and stronger democracies. Our mission is to talk about what's happening in the world and to think about how to make the world a better place. And I can't think of anything that's more important, particularly when you think about what's happening in the world right now. So I welcome you here. I hope you decide to join us, to come into one of our programs. I think Paul is probably going to talk to you about a lot of the opportunities that are available to you as a student within the Faculty of Public Affairs. One of the things that we are particularly proud of is the number of members of Parliament that have come from the Faculty of Public Affairs, have taken one of our programs, and we actually have one who is in one of our programs right now who is a member of Parliament, and that's always an important thing for us to kind of highlight. It doesn't have to be the only way that you think about making the world a better place, so there are lots of ways of doing it, and so we want to help you achieve that kind of a mission. You can do it in part by participating in a number of internships or placements. We have a lot of those as well, co-ops within the faculty, and that can help you figure out what it is you want to do once you're finished your degree. I'm firmly convinced that we are the best place to study anything that has to do with public affairs in Canada, and I think that if you decide to join us, you're going to believe that too. I've just started here. I'm relatively new. I'm about a year and a half into my mission. I came from out west, and I have fallen in love with Carleton, and I think you will as well. But before we kind of get ahead of ourselves, I want you to know a little bit more about what it's like to be a student here at Carleton. And for that, I'm going to hand you over to someone I work closely with, Professor Paul Wilson. And he's my Associate Dean for Students and Enrollment. And he's going to talk to you a little bit about the Faculty of Public Affairs and what you can do here as a student.
All right, thanks, Brenda. And hi, everybody. It's so great that you could join us. We can't see you, but we're just trusting there are people there. And I'm sharing my screen. I hope that's worked, because I put a few little slides together here, because that's what we professors do. So as Brenda said, I'm an associate dean, which is kind of like being a vice principal, I suppose. I'm just kind of an ordinary professor. I've been at Carleton for 11 years, and then taking an opportunity to work as an associate dean for a little while, because that's what universities talk about, being collegial governance, where professors get involved in taking on these kind of administrative roles. So that's what I'm doing for a little while. I normally teach in something called political management, which is a graduate program that deals with kind of practical politics, but lots of the things in public affairs in our faculty deal with the world of Canadian government, of public affairs, of engaging citizenship. So just wanted to talk about a few things. Some of these Brenda's mentioned a little bit, but just go into some detail. So what's the Faculty of Public Affairs? Well, Brenda's already talked a bit about that. And I should say that the faculty, as she said, is a collection of units. The faculties, like there's 5 at Carleton, are the big administrative units. But faculty are also the professors. So it's kind of confusing because, professors are faculty members, but we work within the faculty, which is this big administrative unit. Carleton was founded in 1942, and the first grads at Carleton were in journalism and public administration, which are 2 of the big programs within the Faculty of Public Affairs. In 1977, we pulled all of the units together that kind of work in this area to create the Faculty of Public Affairs. And if we could sum it up, maybe we'd say that it's dedicated to building better democracy and fostering informed citizenship. We think we have a dynamic community of undergraduates, graduate students, professors across our units who deal with things like the structures, the processes of the world of government, politics, civil society, that interaction between all these different players, not only in Canada, maybe it's in provinces as well as Canada as the federal state, but internationally and around the world. We look at the interplay of public and private interests. We try to understand the media and how, whether it's legacy media or social media, how media shapes how we understand the world, how we understand the challenges of the world, how we engage with each other. In short, how to build a better democracy and foster informed and engaged citizenship. So we are one of a kind. There's no other faculty like ours in Canada. We've got about 7,000 students, just under 200 professors, I think. So, we're all dedicated to the same kind of thing. I just wanted to walk through some of the degrees. If you've got specific questions, I hope that you may be able to get into some of the sessions with some of these other, FPA units. But this is just a bit of an overview. So a number of our units have degrees that they give a Bachelor of Arts degree. So you can do a Bachelor of Arts focusing on criminology and criminal justice, which is about understanding criminalization and society's use of punishment. It's a very interdisciplinary degree. You can do a BA in law and legal studies, which is the oldest BA program in law in the country. And you can learn about law and its role in society, whether it's the economic role, cultural, political structures. You can do a BA in political science. Now, what better place to do it than in Canada's capital? But they don't only have a concentration in Canadian politics, but you can look at concentrations in the global north, the global south, gender, international politics, North American politics, political theory. So they've got quite a wide range of things. There's a bachelor's degree, a BA in European and Russian studies. Boy, that's sure important now, and a lot of people in that unit are so very much focused on what's happening in Ukraine and Russia. I almost said the Soviet Union. Boy, that was a flashback. So URIS, we call it, is a very small, close-knit community, obviously interdisciplinary, and they offer an opportunity to do a comprehensive study of the region in all aspects. They have strong support for study abroad experiences. So if you're interested in European studies broadly, they're quite an interesting component of our faculty. And we have a Bachelor of Arts in African Studies, which we're the only Canadian university with a standalone Institute for African Studies, which offers degree programming. And this is not only Faculty of Public Affairs, but we cooperate with the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences on that. The School of Journalism and Communications, you can get different degrees there: a Bachelor of Journalism, Bachelor of Communications and Media Studies, Bachelor of Media Production and Design. These are all different ways of looking at the questions of how we communicate, particularly in a media setting. The journalism department, of course, I mentioned, is one of the oldest departments at Carleton, and it's internationally renowned with very distinguished faculty, prominent alumni, and there's a huge advantage to studying things like communications in Ottawa, because there's not only the National Press Gallery, all the different national news bureaus, whether it's for TV or radio. There's the federal government, embassies, NGOs. What are those called? Non-governmental organizations, various cultural groups. So we're an excellent place to study things that relate to communications, building narratives, communicating narratives in whether it's government, whether it's in the corporate world. We really have a specialty in that. We have something called Arthur Kroger College, which has a few programs in it. The oldest one is the Bachelor of Public Affairs and Policy Management, which if you were thinking of going into working within government and public administration, it would be an excellent beginning for that, dealing with things like communications and policy studies, development policy studies, international policy studies, public policy and administration, which is often a graduate degree, but here this would be kind of a bachelor degree equivalent. The Bachelor of Global and International Studies is quite new, maybe 4 or 5 years old. I guess it started older than that. It started in 2015, and its first grads were in 2019. And it looks at global and international studies, which are kind of two different ways of seeing the world. One looks at culture and religion and language and how those shape how we view the world, and the other is kind of through institutions and legal structures and economic structures. So we bring those together to be looking kind of at a holistic picture. They have 18 different specializations in BGINS. Globalization, global development, global law, social justice, global migration, transnationalism. I won't try to name them all, but that's a very popular program. The Bachelor of Economics, the Bachelor of Social Work are both within our faculty. Economics studies how individuals, companies, countries, international organizations make decisions about resource allocation, about balancing between competing interests. They use cutting edge computational and statistical methods for analyzing data, but it's not only math based. And social work is very much a professional oriented degree for people who are looking at the bachelor's level, and then again at the master's of social work level for working in the profession of social work, whether that's working within the criminal justice system, child welfare, health, social services, NGOs, and very much with a focus on social justice. So why would you study at Fpa? Well, I think I've given some reasons, and Brenda has, but we talk about the Fpa Advantage, and I think that there's a number of aspects to this that I'd like to expand on. One is what I like to think of as enhanced learning opportunities because of where we are in the world. We're in the nation's capital, and so we have access to guest speakers, to contract instructors who are very much engaged in their professions in the real world, kind of during the day. So in my class, for example, just over the last few weeks, I had Prime Minister Trudeau's Director of Policy come to talk to my class. I had the former clerk of the Privy Council, I guess he retired in 2019, so recently former, he came to talk to the class. And lots of professors will bring in guest speakers who are very anchored in the practice of the world that they're studying. So you have access to people, access to resources, whether it's resources like the National Library, the National Archives, access to Parliament Hill, to government, to embassies. Some specialized research would have access to government data centers. All things that you can do when you're in Ottawa that you can't do elsewhere. We have a network of students, professors, and alumni. Ottawa is a very small town, and it's got a high concentration of people who are all studying and working in the same types of areas. So it's a great place to build a network. As a student, you meet people who are in the profession. Many of our alumni, because they're working in things related to government and politics and NGOs, many of our alumni stay in Ottawa. So we have a very active alumni network that as a student, you can build relationships with people who are already on career rungs that you are looking to break into. There's lots of volunteer opportunities. In my world of politics, many of our students volunteer or get paid jobs on Parliament Hill or with political parties, whether that's during the summer or whether it is as part of a university-sponsored co-op placement. There are opportunities to get involved in building your resume, building your experiences, building your connections. FPA has some research opportunities. If you're particularly looking to focus on research, we have opportunities where we just over a couple of weeks ago basically hired. We have a competition. We give an award to students to do research for the summer. You design your research project, you carry it out, and we will pay you to do it over the summer. So we've got 10 students that have just been accepted. They've won that award for the summer. We've got research experience courses where you can work with a professor for credit if you want to build research skills. And finally, I want to mention employment, because this is such an important thing. We all know that universities don't see themselves necessarily as sort of training centers, but hey, it's really important because we want our students to be prepared to move into the areas for their careers where they want to be. I mentioned co-op earlier. There's lots of opportunities for co-op placements for summer employment in Ottawa in different ways. Some of them through the university, some of them, for example, through the federal government. I know lots of students who've gotten involved in the federal government's student work experience program. That's open to people across the country, but for the most part, many of the jobs are in Ottawa. If you're already in Ottawa, you have a big advantage on that sort of thing. If you're into politics, there's the Parliamentary Page program, which is relatively small, but great experience. And after graduation, if you're already in Carleton, as I say, you build up connections and networks. There's so many opportunities here within the kind of FPA-related world, whether it's with government departments, agencies, crown corporations. Do you know there's as of March of last year, 320,000 public servants in Canada. They don't all work in Ottawa, but a lot of them do. There's a lot of jobs in Ottawa in this field of kind of government and public administration and the world of public affairs. And of course, with such a high concentration in government, it's like a magnet. It attracts other people who deal with government, obviously foreign embassies, non-governmental organizations, other companies that deal with the world of public affairs. So there's a huge concentration in Ottawa, and Carleton's FPA is right in the middle of it. So we would encourage you very much to think about opportunities here, and we would love to have you join us. And if you have questions, we'd certainly be pleased to do our best to help.
Don't be shy. Ask us some questions. We're happy to answer. Yep. So Lisa just asked about switching a degree. Absolutely, absolutely. You can always. I think the last number that I heard was something around 40% of students who begin a degree actually switch into a different degree by the time they're finished. So there's quite a lot of students who start in one and then decide they want to switch over to another, which makes complete sense because a lot of the courses you're taking will be things you've never really studied before. So you don't really have a sense of things. What you want to think about, though, is to make sure you have the right credits as you're going into that new program and whether they're all transferable into that new degree. Is there anything else you need to think about, Paul?
Well, Brenda, I was just going to say, it's really crazy that we would think, that high school students coming into university immediately know exactly what I want to do with the rest of my life. I didn't. It took me a long time. Actually, I'm still not sure. Because life throws you curveballs, you learn and you grow and you develop interests that you didn't know you had as you get exposed to things. That's what university is all about. So I would say, don't feel pressure that you have to make a choice right now that's going to determine your whole life, because the chances are you will change, and that's all good. As Brenda says, make sure you keep options open. Make sure you get good advice from university advisors, from department advisors who can tell you, the courses that you need and when you're kind of taking a branch that may cut you off another option. But people change all the time. And that's a good thing, because that means that hopefully it means that you're growing and you're learning more about yourself and learning more about the world, and that's excellent.
Exactly. Yeah.
I studied medieval history, if you can believe it, and I ended up working in Canadian politics. So you never know.
You never know. Happen. Exactly.
The world's a funny place.
And just so you know, I started off as a business major. That's how I started university. And I started that way because I thought I want to have a job. So to me, that was the way I thought I would get a job. Decided I didn't like that, switched over to a double major in economics and politics. And then I sort of went on from there. And I ended up in politics for my PhD. But so there's no way that you have to feel locked into a particular degree if that's what you're starting from. Then there's a question about, do you have to be bilingual to do most co-op programs with the federal government, for example? Do you have an answer to that, Paul? Or
anything dealing with the federal government, it helps to be bilingual, but it's not usually a requirement, especially for a student position. Right. You would certainly be able to find student positions that were not designated as bilingual, but it is a great advantage. I wasted away too much of my youth studying Latin, and I never became fluent in French. And I've had a career in politics, so learning French is definitely advisable, but you can get by in Ottawa without it.
But and you can also do it as a university student. You can improve your French language skills when you're here, because we do have a French program, and so that's an option for you. So I think we've answered that particular question. Do you think the PAPM program is useful if you want to become a public service officer, and how difficult do you think the PAPM program is? I guess the short answer is yes. It's absolutely, right? Absolutely, that would be a great program to do. And how difficult is it? Well, I'm going to say, as the dean, I'm going to tell you, how it depends on all kinds of things. It depends on the program you're taking. It depends on the courses you're talking about. The thing is, what I'm going to say to you is, don't be worried about your ability to succeed in a particular program. If you get accepted into that program, one of the things that I'm going to say is there are a lot of support systems here at the university to help you get through it. You need to, and this is the one thing I'm going to tell you, which I told my children, you need to talk to your professors. Go and meet with them. They have office hours. Their role is to assist you and to help you through that program. No one wants you to fail. Everybody wants you to succeed. And we're here to help you, but we need to know when you need that help. So I always say it's important that you talk to your professors. What do you think, Paul?
Absolutely. I think students often make the mistake of thinking professors are not approachable, and they go to YouTube, they go to other sort of homework help websites because they don't want to talk to the professors. And look, professors are human. There are some that are really wonderful and love working with students, and there might be a couple that maybe aren't, they're having a bad day. Look, that happens. But most professors teach because they love engaging with students, and they look to engage with students and take every opportunity. That's what I would advise. And besides, as Brenda says, they're paid to do it. So it is part of the job.
Yeah.
We expect it. And we would much rather have students ask us questions than have to give out bad marks because somebody didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, exactly. Is Carleton planning to keep the vaccine mandate for fall 2022? That's Annika. Annika, I can't answer that question right now at the moment. The university, there are higher ups that are making those kinds of decisions. At the moment, it is still in place, but I couldn't answer that question. The only thing that I would say is keep an eye on the website. We have a COVID-19 particular website that provides all kinds of answers to those sorts of questions, and it will be updated regularly.
We really want to be lecturing with a mask on is no fun. No. You can't see the people in your class. We really want to be back to normal. We all do, but it depends what happens in the world.
Exactly. We don't want to be too quick to just make those sorts of decisions. Next is, can anyone take extra courses that are not part of their specific program? For example, taking a German course just because you want to learn German. That's Antonia. That's a great question. And I think that's one of the best parts of university is that you have what are called electives and you can take whatever you want to fulfill those electives. My daughter took Latin, much like Paul. She just wanted to take a Latin course. You can absolutely fit that in. Depending on the program you have, you might have more or fewer electives available to you, but most programs have quite a few electives that allow you to do that.
And a Bachelor of Arts degree builds in breadth requirements where you have to take things from outside of your own area. But if you have specific questions, you're best to talk to an advisor about the specifics.
Yeah. There's a question from Maya. Do you have any clubs at Carleton? Do you want to take that one, Paul?
Oh, we have hundreds of clubs. We're having coming up in September. I was just on a meeting yesterday. We're having an academic orientation day where you meet with your units, and the afternoon is like a club expo. Hopefully in person. We really want it to be in person, where all of the clubs and the societies have got like little booths, and you can walk around and see what they're all offering and how to get involved. Yes, they've got clubs for almost everything. And it's a big part of the university experience, getting to experience things like that and other people.
Exactly. I would argue it's one of the nice sort of extra parts of university that aren't in the program, but they provide you with an opportunity to meet all kinds of people and to do all kinds of interesting things, right? Yeah. Lisa's asking about how many electives are in first year, and I think that's going to vary, right, Paul?
Yes, I mean, it depends on your program and how much latitude they give you in first year. Again, ask an advisor about the specifics in the program you're interested in.
Yeah. There's a question. Parker's asking about the BPAPM program. Would the French language credits required for graduation be difficult to obtain if I didn't take French immersion in high school?
It just depends. It depends on your linguistic aptitude, how much background you had. My kids have taken immersion in Ottawa, and they're all very fluent. But I have a good family friend who did not take immersion. She picked up French studying at Carleton, taking classes, and she's now a public servant, fluently bilingual. She did tours on Parliament Hill in French. So, she picked it up quite quickly. It just depends. It's hard to answer that question for someone else.
Yeah, no, it's hard to answer that question for someone else. You said it really does depend. Someone's asking about other than clubs, what are good ways to meet people other than the ones in your major? What do you think? What do you think, Paul? That's an interesting one, right? Yeah.
Well, it depends on personality, and if you're living in Ottawa, like say you're from Ottawa and you're taking the bus to Carleton every day, maybe you've got high school friends that are going to Carleton. You're going to have one sort of social network. If you're staying in residence, you're going to have a whole bunch of other connections. Residence is a wonderful way to meet people. If you're staying in residence, so yeah, it depends. If you're not staying in residence, you're off campus, you don't know anyone in Ottawa, then you have to make an effort. Maybe that's joining a club. For some people, it's a church or it's some other community association that they're part of. But very much don't. And some people have a personality that tends to be more solitary. That was me studying. It's really important to make an effort to get involved with people. But yeah, courses are one. Residence is excellent, but there's always ways.
Millie added intramurals. I was going to say that as well.
Oh yeah,
there are sports that you can participate in. Sports. There's also volunteering opportunities. So there are different ways, to meet other people once you're in the program, right? Once you're in a program and you're here at the university outside of clubs. It doesn't necessarily have to be clubs. Does the university, Maya is asking, does the university have any resources for mental health? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Paul?
Well, this is a huge, a huge concern and a benefit. It's a concern that there's a lot of need for it nowadays because of the pandemic. I mean, a lot of students have felt isolated. I mean, we all, as not just students, lots of, even everyone has been struggling. Many students are overburdened with trying to balance study and work. We all have personal circumstances sometimes that kind of, jump up and bite us. So yeah, the university does have very strong supports for mental health. There's a whole lot of those through different offices that students are able to take advantage of, and we can certainly provide information.
We have counselors, we have health and counseling services, and I know that as a result of the pandemic, the Carleton University has invested quite a bit to make sure we have a sufficient number of counselors available, because the students were accessing it quite a bit more. As Paul said, the pandemic made things quite a bit more difficult. And we are just revising our mental health policy at Carleton University. This is a priority here. And I would say as a student at Carleton, you do have access to quite a few resources. And as Millie added, particularly if you're in residence, you have access to residence counseling as well. So it is available to you. And it is, as I said, something that is taken extremely seriously here at Carleton. And one of the things we do is we also provide a mechanism through which faculty members, instructors can identify students to counseling that they feel may need some help, and they will reach out to you. So there, as I said, you have resources available to you in terms of mental health. So I would say on that score, absolutely. Yeah. And then Luke is asking, is a French course at all required for the BPAPM program? I believe there is a French requirement. Yeah.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
Now, what you have to, the grade that you have to get to continue on and all of those things, I don't know the details of that. I would look into with the persons that are providing you with information about that particular program. You can get that kind of information about how many courses you require, and so on and so on. I know there was just a change made in that program because of the French language's importance, but yes, it is a requirement there. Now, if you're in law, concentration in government and policy, are you allowed to take other additional courses with the mandatory ones that the program needs?
That sounds like electives. It's asking about electives.
Yeah, I think that's what it's asking.
I'm sure there will be electives, but I don't know how many. So I wouldn't want to say anything wrong. So you're best to talk with a specialist advisor on that.
Yeah. Most programs have quite a few electives that are provided, that allow you to take any kind of courses that you might just be interested in, that either may or may not have anything to do with that particular program. How does Carleton compare, and Annika again is asking, how does Carleton compare to bigger schools like U of T and McGill? What do you see as your advantage over the big schools? I'm
we're much better.
Oh, we're way better. I was going to say, one of the things that I find, having come from another university, I came from the University of Calgary, which is a touch bigger than Carleton here. Carleton has a sense of community that I would argue is harder to maintain in a big university that's many more students than we have. There's this, in many ways, as I said, I fell in love with Carleton, and I fell in love with Carleton in part because of that sense of community. It's big so that you get access to a number of courses and programs, but it's small enough that you still feel like you're part of a community. And for me, I find that tremendous. And the second thing I'm going to say is, how does Carleton compare in terms of U of T McGill, in terms of the quality of your instruction? The faculty members, I would say there's no contest. We're just as good. Your faculty members are winning, they're winning awards, they're winning research grants. We have a tremendous faculty here at Carleton, particularly in FPA. So I would say, if you want a community and you want a number of the quality instructors that you get anywhere else, I would say come to Carleton.
I'd like to comment a little bit about that if I could. I did a master's degree at the University of Toronto, and I felt lost at U of T. Just because it's so big and the administration, they're dealing with so many students. Carleton has obviously it's a smaller school than U of T, but it has a more personal feel to it. And I was on a high school parent council. I heard this from a lot of parents whose kids were applying. Carleton kind of has the reputation, you won't remember this. There used to be a car commercial from Avis, and they said, Hertz was the big car rental company, and Avis's commercial was, we're number two, but we try harder. And Carleton, I think, right, we're not as big as Ottawa U. We don't have the big degree, professional programs like law and not law, the professional program or medical. But it's like we try harder. Carleton's administration and the recruitment people, the admissions people are willing to have a personal touch. And if you need something, I have found that Carleton is prepared to give it. Carleton, Ottawa, as I said earlier, feels like it's not a small town, but yet it has a smaller town feel to it, because so many people are working in the same type of area, and geographically, it's really not that large. I live in the East End. It takes me 20 minutes to drive across the city. You can't do that in Toronto. So students are kind of more proximate to the university. Much of the time. So there's how many students are here? It's like over 30,000, right?
I think it's about 34,000 students.
Yeah. So it's not a small place.
It's not small.
But it has a smaller feel to it than some of the larger schools.
Absolutely. And we have a beautiful campus. It's self-contained.
That's true.
So everything is kind of where it is. You don't have to be walking around, trying to figure out where things are. We do have a self-contained campus. Yeah. So as I said, I'm a big fan of Carleton, and I'm going to be number one in line to tell you how wonderful it is to be here, because I think it's got that right mix of, it's big enough, but it also has a kind of a little feel. I think it's a great start to your university experience and a perfect place to come.
The campus has a different feel to it than, like Ottawa U, for example, is very much a downtown, it's in the middle of the downtown. So lots of kind of urban excitement, which is great. Carleton, it's not that far from downtown, but literally a river runs through it, and a canal. So we've got a lot of green space. I sit at my desk, I look out onto the rapids, kind of the river bubbling by. It's very peaceful for the most part.
Yeah, it is nice.
So it's just a different setting. You walk across a bridge and you're into a park, kind of a wilderness park. So.
Then Millie's asking, what's the major Carleton advantage for students in the Bachelor of Economics program? There's already the things that we talked about, right? You're in Ottawa. I think that's a great place to be, particularly if you're thinking about economics and your ability to move into the public sector. But also, as you said, Paul, there lots of organizations have their headquarters here. So in the end, you have connections between the faculty members in that program and those kinds of organizations. So there is a kind of a link in being here. Is there anything else you would add, Paul?
Well, and I guess I mentioned earlier about faculty members who are engaged in the profession during the day. I know there's a number of instructors in economics who are working in government. I know the former chief statistician of Canada teaches a course in the economics department. I suppose he can teach anywhere, but many of these public servants live in Ottawa. They're working in Ottawa, and it's easy to teach a class. So I know that happens in economics.
Yeah. And I'm not sure we have any more questions. I think that's it. And Annika says, see you in the fall. She's doing BPAPM. Well,
great.
Wonderful. Annika, pop up to my office. I'm on the 3rd floor in Loeb, and come and say hi to us. We'd love to see you. Yeah. Love to know which students are coming into our programs.
Yeah.
I think that's it, Paul.
Okay.
We do pretty good at this, Paul.
Well, it's fun.
What do you think? I know it is fun. It is fun. Yeah.
Thank you both so much for such an engaging session. And thank you so much to all of the folks in our audience for the fantastic questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely had to shout out my groundhog friends on campus. One of my favorite components of our campus are our fluffy friends. But yeah, thank you so much.
Big. They're big, those groundhogs.
They're
huge. They're well fed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think this was a very helpful session for folks. We covered a lot of ground here. To anyone else who's watching, to the folks in the audience, I'd love to encourage you to check out some more presentations today. You're also welcome to drop by some of our academic services booths and get a sense for what services are available to you here as a Carleton student. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to a staff member or someone who's got a Carleton photo in their profile picture, and we'd be happy to help. And thank you so much again. Take care, team.
Everybody.
Thanks for coming. Good luck, everyone. Hope to see
you in the fall. Good luck, everybody. Yeah. Choose Carleton.